Johnny Street Vibe, BB Pro to tell like it is. Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Up. Today we're coaching up Jesse James in one of his latest videos, training with 8-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman. I've already watched the video. We're going to go through each one of his exercises and optimize his exercises because, again, it's a very, very good video for you guys to watch because, number one, we have an 8-time Mr. Olympian training in this, and then we also have Jesse James. We have an actual bodybuilder, and we have someone that's doing the active bodybuilding. But again, we have two huge icons. We got to be very careful how we actually apply it to our everyday training. So I want to make sure we go through some things that we can clean up, optimize your training, and make sure next time you guys do any of the lifts that are in this video, they're doing them properly and correct. Anyway, guys, keep your eyes glued to the screen, your ears glued to speakers, and let's learn some shit.
What type of squats should we do?
Back squats.
Back squats?
Just right off the bat, guys, back squat is not the end-all, be-all way to train your glutes, your hamstrings, and your quads all at once. Mostly glutes. It can be any kind of squat. So just think about the movement pattern itself. Hip and knee flexion, you can do that in a hack squat, back squat, front squat, goblet squat, Zercher squat, whatever. You can find the actual squat that works best for your body type. Now remember, guys, your squat is gonna be based on a couple things. Mainly your body structure, your torso length, your humerus length, and your tibial length. Basically, put it this way. Any of you guys who are really tall, who have long tibia and long fibia, thigh bone and shin bone, you're gonna have a lot more bending at the back. It's gonna be hard for you. Those people have like a good structure of a very evenly dispersed shin bone, thigh bone, and torso. It's gonna make you that much better of an optimal squatter. But there's a couple things we're gonna do in here to make sure we can optimize our squatting for those who have different structures and body types. Let's keep going.
Come on, rep it out. Come on, halfway there. Yep. Come on, you got it. Focus. Up.
Okay, a couple things I'm seeing already is we're getting a lot of like bending in the back on the way down. That's actually work from the ground up. We're getting some knee valgus coming in from going up. Now, if you want to avoid knee valgus or basically like the knees caving in, this kind of stuff here, a few things we're not doing. Number one, probably your glute medius is inactive or not as strong. So make sure you're doing stuff to strengthen your glute medius. That's most of the reason why people can't keep their knees out when they're squatting. We're gonna go through the entire squat from the ground up to give you guys a lot more understanding of how to squat properly. Number one, if your tibia, fibia are really long and you're getting a lot of, you're bending a little bit more on the back, what we're gonna do is we're gonna elevate the heels. What we do when we're elevating the heels is it actually just lengthens your shin bone. That's all it does. It lengthens your shin bone so it gives you a better optimal position when going down for knee flexion, knee and hip and knee flexion, right? So we're coming down and up. We don't have this. It gives us the ability to keep our chest upright more when we're going down and all the way up. Couple things you can do. Get yourself either squatting shoes, which is totally fine, some plates, maybe even a wedge. You can get wedged off of whatever, Amazon, Rogue, whatever it is. Then we're gonna plop them underneath here. Now, when we do start this, what I want you to think is from the ground up. A couple things we're doing when we're looking at, keeping our knees aligned with our toes. And I wasn't gonna say make sure you keep your knees aligned with your toes. What I mean by that is when we're getting into our position, our squatting position here, I want to externally rotate the hips. Now, a lot of people, you guys, you're taking that too literally. When I mean external rotation, what I mean is pretend there's a piece of paper on the ground and you're trying to rip the piece of paper. That's gonna activate your hip flexor here and your glute maximus to be able to align your toes and your knees together. So if my toes are out, which I normally do is like 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, we don't have to be like this. If you think it's like 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, if our crotch is 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, if I naturally look right now, my knees are naturally on the inside of my toes. So what I want to do is I want to basically externally rotate only up until my knees are aligned with my toes. I don't want to continue going so I end up doing this. That's a lot of people take that cue and they go too far, they end up squatting like this. Now a couple things he's doing as well too is his feet are too close and he's trying to compensate by squatting super wide with his knees. So we have this here and then we have this big thing like this, right? And then just dropping down and coming up. And we don't want that. What we want is feet are on 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. Externally rotate at the hips so the knees are aligned with our toes. We're gonna have a little slight anterior pelvic tilt, slight, but still controlling our core. So I don't wanna just do this. I wanna control my core by just a little bit engaging my core like I'm pushing in on it, and then a little bit of anterior pelvic tilt. So then when we actually start squatting, our knees and our hips are gonna go at the same time. They're gonna flex at the same time and then coming back up. We don't want this first and then this. And we don't want this first and then this, which I see all the time. What we want is hips and knees are gonna break at the same time and coming up. Now remember, we're gonna grab our toes in the floor, up. So go through a couple squats through and through and how we should do this. Number one, when we get into our position with our bar, get it to a height. Some racks are different, but get it to a height where you know you can just slip underneath it, get underneath it, and stand up. If you gotta get on your tippy toes to get the weight up, we got issues. We're already gonna be in a bad position. And we also don't want to go super low either, so you have to do a full squat to get the weight up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the bar around where our shoulder is gonna be around this way. This probably could be a little higher, but for sake, I'm gonna keep it this way here. Then I'm gonna walk into my squat. I'm gonna make sure I grab my hands where they should be and make sure they're even. So that way when I actually walk underneath the bar is already even. So I can just step underneath and get underneath this way. I don't wanna do this and then start setting my hands up and doing all this funky shit and then getting up and like, I don't know where I'm at. Give yourself like a routine that you stick by, that you're like almost superstitious of. If you don't do it the same way every single time, you're gonna lift wrong. Get that in your head. Have yourself a routine. My routine basically is I get my hands exactly where they're gonna be every single time they're going to squat. Then when I get underneath, I can actually just slip myself underneath here and find my positioning from here, and then I stand right up. Then I'm gonna step back a couple feet onto my heels, onto my little weights here, set myself up, make sure my elbows are underneath the bar. I'm gonna externally rotate, grip my feet into the ground, hips and knees are gonna break at the same time, and then up. Right, controlling the weight down. As soon as my knees and my hips break, we're gonna drive that thing down just like we're doing like an elevator. Right, I want you to think of your tempo, regardless of the speed, as it being a nice fluid elevator ride down and elevator ride back up. We don't want drop and then coming up. We want to catch and react. We want to control the weight from here, from the top, controlling it down, powering up and through. We don't need to do the excess of this shit, so you end up breaking your back after. So if you see anybody doing this and they're doing this, it's not necessary. Please stop doing it. And if you're the one who does it, hurt yourself, I'll be there to be the first person to say, told you so. Don't do it, right? Forget it. Toes 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. External rotation, the hips or knees align with the toes. Hips and knees are gonna break at the same time. Core is engaged, elbows underneath. Control the weight down, head up, and through.
What is your best piece of advice to have a great deadlift?
Pull with your hamstrings.
That's it.
Pretty good tip that we're talking about it. Now we're actually talking about like deadlifts, whether you're doing a sumo deadlift or a conventional deadlift. Hamstrings are going to be a big indicator, a big factor in that lift. Glutes and hamstrings are going to be a huge factor in that lift. You think about it like a stiff leg deadlift, it's basically all hamstrings and glutes, right? It's basically, that's exactly what it is within this. So it's a really good tip to understand that if you're not feeling your hamstrings working in any of those lifts, you're not doing it right. So when I talk about having a good mind to muscle connection, understand this. If you cannot feel the muscle you're using, it has nothing to do with the mind to muscle connection, more so it has everything to do with you're not doing the exercise properly. That's why you don't feel the muscle. So if you're going to the gym and you're training hamstrings or glutes or quads or whatever it is, and you don't feel the muscle, it's not your muscle-mind connection, it's your technique and form. Understand that. Let's keep going.
Nothing to it but to do it, baby. Lift with them legs. Come on. Lightweight. Come on. Yeah, buddy. Come on. Get them up. Come on. You got it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, buddy. Lightweight, baby. Nothing to it but to do it. Let's go. Breathe.
I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. That was a good deadlift, really good deadlift. I don't want to throw Will under the bus, but that was a good deadlift and it was a little better than Will's. But Will's do conventional, so we won't talk about that. Either way, what I do like about that is his intensity through the lift and his control through the lift. Now what I didn't like is he controlled the eccentric on the last rep, on the second last rep, but then just dropped it at the end. Don't drop it, right? Don't drop it. I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to set up your sumo deadlift, what my mindset is going through, or my approach going through this, and then you can take the same type of approach if you want to, but just take the cues I'm gonna give you guys to be a little more optimal when you're doing this. Again, we're doing sumo deads, we're doing a lot more adductors, hamstrings, a lot more, right? When we're doing conventional, we're not using as much of your inside hamstring muscles. I'm gonna call it adductors, just to make it super simple for you. So how are we gonna do this? Again, biggest thing I find when people do sumos is a couple things. Number one, they're either way too wide or they're way too close. Now there is a lift where you're like this. There is purpose for that, but for the name's sake, if you're doing sumo deadlifts, let's just make sure we're in a sumo position. Now what's the best way to figure that out? Well, think about this. Your best angle, your strongest angle is gonna be like a 90-degree angle. It's basic, that's freaking physics, all right? Or geometry, I don't know, one of those things. If you look at where I'm sitting, if I sit myself down in a position here, I have a nice degree of 90 degrees here. Outside of this is putting more stress inside my groin. my adductors, and I'm not gonna be able to externally rotate as much when I'm too far out this way. So rule of thumb, give yourself a position where you're 90 degrees, so it doesn't matter how tall you are, it's gonna equal the same determined on your body type. So a couple things we're gonna do. Just like conventional deadlifts, I'm gonna walk up to this bar, where I naturally would be if I was doing a conventional deadlift. Then I'm gonna place my foot outside. I usually use these markers, but for me, I can use these markers because this is how tall I am. And basically this gives me my indication of where my feet naturally are, where when I get down to the bottom here, I'm 90 degrees. This will change for a lot of people. So use the bar and different markers on the bar to give yourself a position. So every time you deadlift, it's easy for you to just come up to the bar like myself, and I'm already here. Now from this way, now we're here in that position, again, I'm going to start from the ground up. I'm gonna grip my toes into the floor. My knees are naturally inside of my legs again, so I'm gonna externally rotate my hips so that my knees are aligned with my toes. Now when we're doing deadlifts, the difference between doing deadlifts and squats is we're not gonna get much knee flexion. So if we're going down and you end up doing this kind of stuff, this is a big mistake I see all the time. If this happens, then the weight is basically in front of us. Again, our goal for doing deadlifts is to make sure that the bar pathway maintains the same. We wanna keep the integrity of the bar pathway consistent. So when we go and do a deadlift and this comes up, it travels up the same way instead of coming from here, then I have to pull it back into our body. So again, now we're here again. Your shins can be touching or can be a little bit by the laces of your shoes. Either way, ground up, toes gripping to the floor. 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, we're on a bigger clock now. Crotch is 12 o'clock. Externally rotate the hips. We're gonna let our butt hip back up a little bit. We're gonna hinge a slight bit and interior rotate, anterior pelvic tilt, and keep our core engaged. And our arms are gonna be right here, just like as is. And we're gonna protract. We're gonna push them down on the floor right away. So right away already, my lats are already engaged. Now to grab this weight, I'm gonna hinge back. I don't want knee flexion. So my shins aren't gonna go anywhere. They're gonna stay just like this. So I'm gonna reach my butt back like I'm going to the washroom in a dirty bathroom. I'm gonna sit back so I keep it engaged. My glutes are getting hard. I'm gonna grab the bar, again, shoulder width apart. Now while I'm here, I'm gonna re-tighten everything up. As soon as I get my grip, I'm gonna pretend somebody's tickling my armpits just like I do in this conventional deadlifts. And I don't wanna sit down like this. We're not trying to squat, sit like this because my toes come off the ground. What I'm doing is, I'm gonna rock my butt back a bit so I can get it nice and tight. And then from here, I'm gonna push my knees out so they're aligned with my toes, tighten my core, chest up, head up, and we're gonna explode, coming up hips through. All the way back down, we're gonna do it the exact same way we did lifting it up. Hips are gonna go back to make sure the bar pathway stays consistent. So we're from here, lifting up, and then back down. Now, when the butt comes up, the bar has to come up. So if I'm here and tight, if I go up an inch, the bar goes up an inch. I don't wanna go from here and then this. We wanna avoid doing that. So again, walking to the bar. Your shins can be either touching the bar or at your laces of your shoes. Toes gripped in the ground. Externally rotate the hips so knees align with the toes. Anterior pelvis tilt a slight bit while engaging your core still to keep a nice healthy spine. Push your hands to the floor. Hinge your butt back so those knees or shins don't move forward. Grab the bar, shoulder width apart. Pretend somebody's tickling your armpits. Tighten your core, head up, chest up. Push through. Hit the bar with the hips and then back down. And you're gonna stay engaged in the core the entire way when we're doing this. So we're here, up, and down, up, and down. And there's how you should be doing your deadlifts. All right guys, that is it for the video. I actually have to run and head over to Corrupted Strength to train to one of my clients. We'll get that on video too as well. So hopefully you guys like this video. And if you did, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. You know, I'm a channel that tells like it is, transparent, vulnerable truth. For coaching, johnasheed.com. If you want to know more about my coaching, guys, book yourself a 15 to 30-minute consult. At the end of the consult, I deduct it off any package that you pick. Also, hit the description below for those discount codes and promo codes to help save your life or change your life for the better. And guys, add me on Instagram and TikTok. Send me progress pics and training pics and your video clips, and I'll repost it for you, because you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep gene chasing. Peace.